The next Skyrim in space? Well, that's what our buddy Todd Howard called it, and I'm talking about Starfield, the next Bethesda Game Studios mega game coming out November 11th of 2022. Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, and in this video, I'm going to break down a bunch of information from Starfield. We're talking trailers, articles, tweets, and so forth. So you can decide, is this going to be the next game you want to play in 2022? I can tell you I'm very excited to play it because if you know anything about Bethesda, it's all about exploration, and exploring space in a Bethesda game could be the next best thing in gaming. Let me explain. First announced 3 years ago and in development since 2017, Starfield is an open-world role-playing game set in the sci-fi genre of space. The world is said to be featured in a more realistic environment, unlike other Bethesda titles like Fallout or Skyrim. Starfield is set in the year 2330, not super far in the future with far-out tech. We can expect something similar to the technology we can recognize today, but far enough in the future where it's realistically to expect some space travel. In this realistic environment is what has me so excited for this title. It's what I loved about the Fallout series. When I'm playing that game, I seriously think to myself, this could really happen. A massive nuclear war where people had to hunker down, have that step out moment and go, what do we do next?
Technology's changed, we've all changed. So our expectations when loading up a game, like, okay, I'm gonna step out and there's gonna be this moment. Us being able to do that and have it feel new every generation, every game, is something that is really special about what we do.
I wouldn't consider myself the typical role-play gamer, but Fallout was the closest thing for me because I could make that mental leap, that mental connection to, oh my gosh, this could really happen. What would I actually do as a player role-playing this game? What decisions would I make? How would I act and interact with the environment? And that's what I loved about Fallout 4 specifically. It gave me that. Exploring, collecting, building, finding new things, and exploring the unknown. The same thing could happen with Starfield, just in the sci-fi environment, which is my absolute favorite genre in gaming, to be honest with you. Starfield starts roughly 30 years after a war between two factions, the United Colonies and the Free Star Collective known as the Colony Wars, with two sides now at an uneasy peace. The setting is 50 light-year radius from Earth, where humanity has settled. Starfield is Bethesda Game Studios' first new IP in 25 years. According to Todd Howard, they wanted to do something like this all the way back in the Morrowind days, but because of technology issues, they couldn't bring to life this massive world which required better technology.
We were doing Morrowind and looking at what we might do after that and beyond that, and we had a list of what are the other types of worlds we want to go to, and obviously Fallout was at the top of the list. You know, if we could do that, and that, you know, magically, luckily came true for us. And right behind that was, you know, science fiction.
What's allowing them to do this now is new technology. In fact, Starfield will be running on their new creative engine too. They've spent years developing the new game engine, and seems like what held them back from Starfield in the past wasn't the idea, it was the technology. And finally, consoles and PCs have caught up to the point to allow this gigantic storytelling to even be possible. The developers constantly reiterate in every single article and trailer, exploration. If you've played Skyrim, if you've played Fallout, other Elder Scrolls titles, that's what it is. You have a big step out moment, you look around, and you're free to do whatever you want. Fallout 4 is one of the only games where I turned off fast travel, cranked the difficulty up to the highest, and turned survival mode on. It's when I did this that I could appreciate all of the details the world had to offer. Every single square inch, it felt like, was covered with detail, whether it was an aluminum can to add to my collection, or finding a box of ammunition, maybe an enemy creeping around a dirty little skeever, something. Every part of the environment was filled with rich details. Starfield has the potential to do the exact same thing, just in space, going from world to world to world in different environments, giving you that same every single inch needs to be explored in this world. I can't imagine all the new weird lore, stories, details, and things to uncover in this world that they're going to create. Todd Howard even described this as Skyrim in space, while Ashley Chang, Bethesda's managing director, described Starfield as the Han Solo simulator. Get in a ship, explore the galaxy, do fun stuff. And it's the explore the galaxy part that has me very excited in the same way Mass Effect Andromeda did. No, the game wasn't a hit by any means, but they did something similar. They allowed you to travel to another galaxy instead of ours, but ask yourself, what would you do? How would you colonize the galaxy? What aliens would you meet? What critical decisions would you make? The stories you could rate and the replayability to see what and how change is what I loved about Mass Effect Andromeda, even though it wasn't well received. The Starfield storytelling is going to be next level. In fact, Todd Howard shared on a Japanese game show that Starfield has more than double the lines of dialogue that Skyrim did at launch. Skyrim had 60,000 while Fallout 4 had 111,000, and Starfield is said to have 150,000 lines of dialogue. That's an utter insane amount of dialogue, especially to go along with the heavy exploration. I suspect there will be a massive amount of quests, companions, and things to do that we haven't even dreamt about. And speaking of things that Bethesda does really well, the number one thing I like about the studio and their storytelling is it's always morally gray. In Bethesda fashion, it's generally no, oh, this is the right choice, this is the wrong choice, this is the paragon, this is the renegade. It's right down in the middle, where you're constantly encountering these tough critical decisions where it's one side might win, another side might not. And that adds to the replayability, and that adds to the roleplay aspect. What would you really do? I'm sure there'll be some pick and choose scenarios which are going to be gutted. Do I save this colony or let this settlement die off? And sometimes you have to just come back and replay the game because you want to see what the other choice would play out in your game. Speaking of replayability, in a recent IGN article, Todd Howard did confirm they quote-unquote plan on having full mod support. This could add even more depth and years of longevity as we look to Skyrim still cranking out AAA mods 10 years plus. So the release and platform. Starfield is set to release on November 11, 2022, available for PC and Xbox, and part of Game Pass day one. So you'll notice here you won't see anything about PlayStation. It's going to be an Xbox exclusive, and this in and of itself is somewhat controversial. Both Pete Hines and Xbox Aaron Greenberg both said Starfield will be an Xbox exclusive. This makes some sense considered Microsoft acquired both ZeniMax Online Studios and Bethesda for $7.5 billion in early 2021. And that they would want this new flagship game to be an exclusive to attract new customers. I'm not defending them here, and I can see some valid arguments for and against, as these games are generational and should be available to all gamers, but I can see their point. Either way, that's the details on the release and what you can expect, as Bethesda does stick to their launch date, even though if it's a rough start. So what can we expect gameplay-wise? We don't have a lot of details, but we can get some glimpses of what might be coming based on the trailers. The first from the trailer, and that's the obvious one, a gun laying on the table, next to, well, a sandwich, of course. This was probably going to be an obvious choice on combat, seeing as it's set in a realistic environment. And it's safe to assume this will be a first-person type of game, like previous IPs.
And I think those are things we like. Like, we like playing first person. We like having all the coffee cups. We like being able to touch everything. Those moments make the whole thing believable. Being able to watch the sunset and nighttime come and just sit there and watch the world go by seems like it's not gameplay, but it is vital to how you feel through the rest of it.
Now the question is this, will Starfield's combat system resemble Fallout 4 with a similar system to VATS with automatic aiming? I personally like the system over a pure shooter like Halo because it felt more roleplay. It felt more Dungeons and Dragons with RNG dice rolls rather than a straight shooter. My opinion is, it's a guess here, that we'll have something similar. I'm just speculating here. So who are the bad guys? We get a glimpse of the bad guys, mercs, pirates, and spacers, and apparently some religious zealots. Sounds like some folks out of Fallout 4. Who knows if we'll see any aliens, but it seems like they may be sticking to a big reveal or more of the realistic system as they describe, so we'll have to wait and see, but those are the ones that we know about. Also, we get a glimpse of the two major factions. I'm guessing it'll be something you'll have to either choose, align with, or become the major threat, and you'll have to deal with them on the settled worlds. Speaking of that, how will traveling from world to world work? We can see some glimpses in the trailer with the pilot, but traveling from planet to planet maybe just be fast travel, or will there actually be some navigating between these worlds that the user can take a part of. Same as landing on the planet. Will you actually be able to traverse this and land yourself, or is it going to be automated? Once we get to the planet, I'm assuming you'll have the ability to do some roving, to fly around, but we'll have to wait and see. What has me really excited is the art from one of the trailers showing an indoor screenshot with the family. Inside, it seems like you have a habitat, you might say. This gives me the Fallout 4 settlement vibes, and I'm hoping it's something similar, which is what I've sunk countless hours to into this game. Imagine exploring new planets to find various mines and minerals and materials to go back to your habitat and start building. Start fortifying. Maybe you're building turrets to defend yourself against pirates. Maybe you're adding on and getting a new room so you can bring more settlers there and expand your colony. And maybe you're going to upgrade your technology to have, I don't know, better air inside, more ability to harvest plants, something. It gives me that settlement Fallout 4 vibe, but in space, and it's wild to see and think what they could do. After they've played around with Fallout 4, it'll be a much improved system, I imagine. And maybe once you start getting more settlers on your specific colony, it opens up more dialogue, more questing options, and maybe even more companions. Also, what I'm hoping for is there's some organic attack mechanism similar to what Fallout 4 is, and you having to defend your settlements, giving you a sense that you're actually on the frontier of space and anything can happen at any moment. Next up is about robots, and it seems like this will be core to the game as well, giving some information from a Washington Post article. You can see the robot during the trailer walking around. Again, I go to Bethesda doing something creative. Imagine building up robots similar to what you did again in Fallout 4. Maybe these will be your type of companions that open up dialogue stories, abilities as per guest, and other technology. This could lead into exciting gameplay loop, exploring, collecting, tinkering, seeing what happens. Can you tell I'm excited about this game? Okay, and that's just a little bit about Starfield and what we know. And we're starting to get more and more bits of information as we get closer. And I'm imagining the marketing for this game is going to be enormous. As 25 years in the making, the new intellectual property of Bethesda, I'm sure they've put a ton of time, energy, and resources behind it. And it may be the next mega game for years to come. I've always wanted Bethesda to do something in space. Personally, I love the Elder Scrolls and I love Fallout 4, but sci-fi is my favorite genre. It's just so creative, it's so different, and it's so, man, what if this really would happen? And the role player in me screams, please make this your best game yet. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you want me to cover other games similar to this and something that I'm interested in playing and covering on this channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and leave me a comment. What other games would you like me to check out and research and bring to your attention? Thanks for watching.